Welcome to the Financial Wellness Academy, educating and empowering you to master your money so that you can live the life you desire. My name is Caitriona Ellis, and in today's vlog, we're going to cover the idea of debt. It is sadly something that many people experience, and it brings a huge amount of stress and anxiety to many lives. It's something I've personally experienced. So in the vlog today, we're going to talk it through in terms of what it is, the ways that you might find it in your lives, the understanding the pattern and how this can repeat throughout your life, and making a plan of action as to how you can deal with the debt that you currently have in your life if it's something that affects you. So, if we think about debt, most people will think of the usual suspects in terms of credit cards or overdrafts, personal loans, motor loans, store cards, and perhaps also debt with family, friends. And whatever form it takes, there is often an association of emotion around it. And that emotion can vary from guilt, shame, embarrassment, anger, sadness. And money largely, and debt specifically, is very connected to our emotions. And if it's a situation where you have found yourself on many occasions during your life getting into that cycle, maybe breaking free, paying down the debt, and then finding yourself back in it, there will undoubtedly be an underlying cause to that. There will be an underlying explanation as to why it keeps reoccurring. And there will also be the potential for you to break that pattern, to put a plan in place to prevent that from happening. It's something I've experienced myself personally. When I had just finished university, I moved to the northeast of England for my first job with Barclays Bank. I lived in an area that was very socially deprived. It was the first time whilst working that I lived away from home. And I guess emotionally, there was a hole there, a sadness. And I took out my first credit card and I ran up a bill of maybe 1 or 2,000 on pretty much nothing. Clothes, shoes, nice things to make myself feel better, to fill that hole of the depravity that I was experiencing outside myself and within myself. I had successfully achieved a really great degree, yet I found myself in a very low paying job and none of it made sense. And I felt that after doing well in university, I should be able to access a car, a great place to live, all the clothes, things that I wanted with ease. But on the salary that I was unable to access that. So a credit card, like a magic wand, solved that until the bill hit, and I had no means of clearing that amount due. So I turned to my parents to guarantee a loan. I took care of the loan payments, but having to ask them to guarantee the loan for me was a source of shame and guilt and embarrassment. And it really brought home the idea that really was it worth it? So all those lovely things that I had, they had a timeline on them and they would pass and wear out and move on. Yet I was left with this debt. And without a shadow of a doubt, the debt feeling far overshadowed any joy or happiness that the stuff gave me. And this was a really key lesson to me. I've never since done that, thankfully. I've learned my lesson. I was able to identify what was going on there and get to the bottom of it and address it. Because without addressing what was going on underneath, nothing was going to change. And I would find myself potentially clearing that and then doing the same thing over and over again. So I guess that is a really key part of any debt that you may have, is looking under the hood and trying to understand, well, what can I do? What is actually going on here? And how can I address the needs that this debt is filling in me? And that really is absolutely key to preventing this from reoccurring again and being a repeating pattern for you and all the emotions it brings with you. So I guess once you identify that piece, the next piece is around making a plan to address the debt that you have. And first off, it's a case of figuring out, okay, well, what's that figure look like? So if you take the blinkers off and add up the total, so maybe you have debt across a number of credit cards, maybe you also have loans, etc. Doesn't matter. Leave judgment aside for now. Judgment is not going to add anything or help in any way. So just park that to the side for now if it's an issue. And write down all the totals of all the different debts pieces that you have and come up with your grand total. So let's say, for example, it's £5,000. If you would like to ideally clear that in a 12-month period, how are you going to achieve that? So divide that amount over 12 and see, okay, right, well, so I need £400 per month to clear that. Then how am I going to find that £400 to, in 12 months, be clear of that? So when you start to look at what's coming into your account, what's going out of your account, you start to see, well, where could this potential spare money come from? And as you get clearer and more religious about watching what's going on in your account, you will be very surprised to find money around that you didn't know was there. It's maybe going out in subscriptions that you weren't paying attention to, that you don't get value from. And it will nudge you to really clean your account up. And the more you look, the more you'll find. And this was something I experienced when I was dealing with mortgage debt, a high level of it, a number of years ago. When I started to really understand what was going in and out of my account, I started to find money all over the place, and I started to clear up my account so that all that was going out of it were things that I really wanted to pay, needed to pay, and was happy to pay. And anything spare, I was then able to redirect towards clearing any debt that I had. And this is really key to you identifying, well, how am I going to, if I know I need £400 a month to get this cleared in 12 months, how am I going to find that? So your first place is to start in your account. And your instinct may be to think, well, it's just meeting ends at the moment. There's nothing spare. I'd ask you to look again and keep looking until you really are 100% satisfied that you've exhausted everything. Because most people will say things like, there's nothing else, I can't cut back anymore. But when you start to look at it with different eyes from the perspective of not seeing a lack of money, but saying, okay, I've made a commitment to clear this debt. I'm going to find the money I need to clear this one way or another. You approach it from a different perspective, and you may find that you see things that you've never seen before, which beggars belief every time it happens to me. And it's still something I do when I need to clean up my act, because we can all fall off the bandwagon from time to time, and that's normal. So have a look and see where you can find money. Also start to think, well, is there a way that I could maybe generate a little bit of extra income? If you have an extra maybe piece of work on the side that you could do, or are there items in your home that no longer are of value to you and you can sell and generate some cash for that? So as you start to gather ideas as to how you can generate the money to clear this debt, it almost becomes like a rolling stone, and it starts to gather momentum, and it starts to really create money where you didn't see it before. And this may sound in the woo space, but trust me, every time I am in this space and I need to generate money for whatever it is I want, I find it all over the place, even though it's been in plain sight and I haven't seen it. So have a look and see what happens. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on this. An amazing way of tracking your progress on this is to get one of those mindful coloring sheets and to color in a piece as you go each time you pay off a chunk of your debt. So even if it's £10, £20, whatever it is, color it in and have that somewhere that you see on a daily basis to remind yourself of the progress. It's very easy to beat ourselves up and to give ourselves a hard time for all the things we haven't done and how far we still have to go. But be kind to yourself when it comes to debt, and give yourself a big pat on the back as to the progress that you've made and how you're continuing to track and really nudge this forward, because getting free of debt and getting to that milestone of having no no debt in your life is absolutely key to you creating that financial wellness. It's an amazing place to be. It's a place that very few people are, but it's absolutely achievable. Most people just give up and come to terms with the fact that they're going to be in debt for the rest of their lives. I refuse to accept that for myself, for you, for anybody I'm working with. It's not necessary. There's always a way out if you're committed to finding it. So leave that with you, some food for thought as to how you can get out of that cycle of debt, avoid it crushing you, because it can be something that really takes the life force out of you and really wins you and takes the joy out of a lot of the amazing things that you have in your life right now. So listen back to this, maybe if you want to refresh on the little actions that you need to take. They are all very simple, very straightforward actions that can help you and really make a difference when it comes to your debt. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next week for some more financial wellness tips.